Hello everyone, welcome back to the Success Academy. I'm Shashan Dias, and in this video, we're going to find out how to write an essay that will get you a band 7+ score. Alright, so we have discussed an essay writing structure before, and we've discussed an essay in a past video. So if you want to check that out, we'll put the link in the description below. But you don't have to, because we will discuss everything here again, and we will discuss a different essay so that if you have watched the previous video, you can also get a different idea through this essay, and you can get an idea of how to write a different type of essay. Alright, when it comes to essay writing, there are a few things that we have to keep in mind. Number one, 66% of your mark is given to the essay. So in the writing task, 66% of your mark is given to the essay. Alright, which means you should give maximum priority to your essay. The letter is important, the report is important, which means your part 1 is important, but more than that, your part 2 is even more imperative. Alright, you need to be top notch in your essay writing in order to get that 66% result. Okay, you have 40 minutes to write your essay. You have 20 minutes to write part 1, you have 40 minutes to write part 2. Essentially, when you are figuring out how to write this, there is a 3-step process that you have to follow. First, you have to plan, then you have to write, then you have to revise. Alright, planning is so important when you're writing the essay. We'll discuss this in just a second. Let me first talk about the word count. The minimum word count that is expected of you is 250 words. Now that is the minimum, that's the hygienic standard, the baseline standard. If you want to go for a band 7+ score, you obviously have to write more than that. Ideally, 275 to 300 words would be the best possible word count that you can stick to. Most people end up writing 340, 350, sometimes they even go up to 400. This is not entirely necessary, because it's not the quantity of your answer that matters. It doesn't matter how long your answer is, you just need to have a quality answer. However, if you can present both quality and quantity, of course that will work better for you. Most people, when they follow the structure that we talk about, end up writing about 350 words. By writing 350 words, you're guaranteeing that your word count is perfectly safe, and at the same time, if you follow our structure, use the cohesive devices that we talk about, getting a band 7+ score is going to be a walk in the park. Alright, so your minimum word count is 250, ideal is 275 to 300, but most people end up writing about 350. Alright, next we talk about planning, writing and evaluating. When we talk about planning, it's so important that you plan what you're going to write within the first 5 minutes of starting to write your essay. It's very important for the simple reason that when you're writing your essay, when you're halfway done, you don't want to realize, this is not what I wanted to write. This is not the point I wanted to make. This is not the example I wanted to use. And then you have to erase the whole thing. You have to rewrite it. It's just so time consuming. What you have to keep in mind is you have only 40 minutes to write this whole essay. So you have to manage your time in a very smart and efficient way. So you have to ensure that you're writing this in the best way possible. In order to do that, you have to plan before you start writing. What do you plan? Do you plan the introduction? Do you plan the conclusion? No, you don't have to plan both of those things, because both your introduction and your conclusion depends on what you write in your body paragraph. I hope that makes sense. So what you're going to effectively plan are your body paragraphs. So you simply figure out, what is the point I'm going to write in my first body paragraph? What is the example I'm going to give to support that point? Then in your second paragraph, what is the point you're going to make? What is the example that you're going to give to support that point? Simple, that's it, very effective. You can just do this in 2 to 3 minutes. But if you don't allocate this time, you're going to end up wasting so much time as you continue to write. So make sure you just make this investment of about 2 to 3 minutes to figure out your points and the example, and then start writing so as to avoid any mishaps as you move on. I hope that makes sense. Then your second stage is very simple. You start writing. We'll discuss the structure in a bit. Then you get to revision, evaluation. All right. The first thing that you do is you go back and you check if everything you have written makes sense. Can you write? Can you phrase things better? Can you use better words? Can you use better cohesive devices? You have to figure this out. And you go back, you read word to word and you try to see, can I phrase these sentences in a better way? Can I write these words in a better way? That's what you do when you revise your answer for the first time. You check if you can phrase your sentences better, or if you can change your cohesive devices, if you can use quality synonyms for the words you have already used. Once you have done this first round of evaluation, you go to the second stage. Here, you check your punctuation, grammar, and spellings. That's the baseline of your answer. If your punctuations, grammar, and spellings are not correct, then you're going to lose a big chunk of your marks. So you have to ensure that your spellings, grammar, and punctuation are on point. So you do this in your second round of revision. The first round you just check for the words and the phrasing. Second time around you just take a minute or two and you revise these three things: grammar, punctuation, and spellings. So the answer you're submitting is near perfect. All right, near perfect in terms of your vocabulary, in terms of your phrasing, in terms of your spellings, grammar, and punctuation. There's nothing to nitpick, there's nothing to mark incorrect. So you have to ensure that that part of your answer is as perfect can be. Right? Alright, next up we will dive into the marking criteria for the essay. Now in the last video that we didn't really look in detail about the marking criteria. So let's dive deep into it here and then we will move on to the essay structure. Alright, so there are 4 marking criteria that you have to pay attention to. The first is task response. The second is lexical resources. The third is grammatical range and accuracy. And the last one is coherence and cohesion. Okay. Task response refers to the content of your answer. Your content has to be backed up by examples, proper facts, and also your personal opinion. Now, when you're doing part 1, your personal opinion doesn't matter as much. You're not encouraged to write your personal opinion at all. However, that is completely different when it comes to the essay. Your personal opinion is very important. In fact, your entire premise, your entire essay is backed up by your personal opinion. So here, mentioning your personal opinion and using proper examples and facts to back that up is imperative, very important. All right. The next is lexical resources. Lexical resources are the quality vocabulary, the synonyms, the quality words that you use throughout your essay. The better your words are, the better your vocabulary is, the more chance you have of going to a band 7+ score. The less complex, the more basic your vocabulary is, chances are they're not going to give you a band 7+ score. So lexical resources are so important when you are targeting a high band score. If you're looking for band 6 or 6.5, the vocabulary is still important, but not as important as if you're looking for a band 7+. So if you are looking for a higher band score, you have to pay a lot of attention to the vocabulary that you are using throughout the essay. Right? The third one is grammatical range and accuracy. You have to use compound grammatical structures. You can't use the same basic grammatical structures that you always use when you speak or you write. Not the day-to-day grammatical structures that you're used to. You have to try and use compound grammatical structures using good cohesive devices to connect your sentences and show the connectivity between your sentences, and try to create as many compound sentences as possible as opposed to just writing the same structures that you would typically speak or write. Alright, so grammar is so important, and the more grammatical errors that you make, the less chance you have of going to a band 7+ score. Although there is a leeway, there is a certain percentage allocated for you to make mistakes. The more mistakes you make, the less chance you have of going to a band 7+ score. Alright, the next is coherence and cohesion. Coherence is the overall structure that you have to maintain throughout your essay, which means you have to have an introduction, body, and conclusion. This is the overall structure that you have to maintain. Aside from this, you also have to ensure that your answer is directly connected to the question, which means every point you write, every example you write, it has to be connected to the question. If that connectivity breaks, if you're not writing points or examples that are not relevant to the question, then you will obviously lose marks. You will not be able to get to a higher band score. Coherence is the connectivity you maintain between your sentences as well as your paragraphs. So the more cohesive devices that you use, the more connectivity, the more connection that you show throughout the points, throughout the examples that you write, the better chance you have of going for a higher band score. Right? So I hope that marking criteria is clear. You need to have the right context, you need to have the right content backed up by your own personal experiences. You need to have good quality vocabulary, you need to maintain correct grammatical structures, and you also have to maintain connectivity throughout your essay. With that being said, now we move on to the part that you have been anticipating, which is the essay structure, the structure of writing a band 7+ essay. Alright, now let's look at the structure of an essay that will certainly get you to a band 7+ score. Before looking at the structure itself, first let's take a look at the question that we are going to discuss. The question reads, the most important aim of science should be to improve people's lives. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement? Give reasons for your answers and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. Alright. Now in the question itself, they mention the importance of writing your own opinions, your own experiences. Alright. So that's why I said it's very important to write it or include it as a part of your essay. Alright. When we look at the essay structure, you already know that you have to write an introduction, body, and conclusion. But how does this breakdown happen? What is included in the introduction? What is included in the body? What is included in the conclusion? When we look at an introductory paragraph, in the introduction, there are 3 things that you always have to write. The introduction is where you give the first impression to the examiner. If the examiner reads your introduction and realizes, okay, his English is not great, his structure is not great, he hasn't covered all the important points, then you're not going to get any marks. Alright, so you have to include these 3 things in your introduction regardless of the essay that you're writing. The first thing that you have to do is you have to paraphrase the question. What do you mean by paraphrasing the question? You take the question, you take that fact-based statement which they have said in the question. In here, in this question, the fact-based statement is, the most important aim of science should be to improve people's lives. We take that sentence and we write it in our own words. What does this show? This shows the examiner that we have completely understood the question. Because if we don't understand the question, we can't write this fact-based statement in our own words. The fact that we are writing it in our own words completely shows the examiner, okay, this person has clearly understood what he needs to write. Alright? So that's the first thing that you have to do. You have to paraphrase the fact-based statement. Number 2, or the second thing that you have to write in your introduction itself, is you have to highlight your own opinion. Alright, you have to highlight your opinion. Do you agree with this or do you disagree with this? What is your opinion regarding this topic? That shows the examiner, okay, he has understood the question and he has an opinion on the question. He's taking a correct stance as to what exactly he's going to write. So you paraphrase the statement, you write it in your own words, then you give your opinion. The third thing that you have to do is you have to outline the remaining structure of the essay. What does that mean? Now, in your essay, if you have planned to write 2 points, or if you have planned to write 3 points, you need to say, I have elaborated my opinion using 3 examples, or I have elaborated my opinion by, or have validated my stance using 2 examples. Now, how are you going to write this statement without having planned what you're going to write? This is why I said planning is very important. You would not know how many points you're going to write if you haven't planned beforehand what you're going to include in this essay. So you need to clearly state as your third sentence of the introduction how many points you're going to include in the rest of your essay. Alright, so that is how you write the best possible introduction. So we'll read the sample introduction which I have given. The primary objective of scientific endeavors should undeniably be the enhancement of human welfare. So what have I done? I've basically outlined, or I have paraphrased the question in my own words. I strongly agree with this statement. That's my opinion, believing that scientific advancements should prioritize the betterment of human lives. Alright, so I've clearly agreed with the topic. This essay will delve into the reasons behind this viewpoint, supported by 2 examples and cohesive reasoning. So now it's clear to the examiner that I've understood the question, that I agree with this statement, and I'm going to write 2 body paragraphs to support my argument. So that is how you write the best possible introduction. Next, we move on to the body paragraphs. Any body paragraph that you write only needs to follow this particular structure. Alright, every body paragraph, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3, it all needs to follow this structure. First, you need to have a topic sentence. A topic sentence is an introduction. Now you might be thinking, why do I need an introduction again? You need to introduce the point that you're going to write in your body paragraph. Every body paragraph that you write is like a mini essay. Alright, every body paragraph you write is like a mini essay. So what does an essay have? An introduction, body and conclusion. So what does every body paragraph have? An introduction, body and conclusion. We use a few different names. We call the introduction a topic sentence, but it is basically you introducing your point in your body paragraph. The second thing that you have to do is elaborate this topic sentence. You elaborate your point. You don't necessarily give examples here, but you just elaborate the point that you're trying to make. Then you give an example. The difference between your explanation and example is your explanation can be generic. You can give some points that are not specific. They just explain your point overall. But an example has to be very specific. You can't give a generic idea or generic explanation as your example. Your example has to be very specific. So you have the topic sentence, you have the explanation, you have the example, and finally you have the conclusion. Not the final conclusion, but the conclusion to your body paragraph. Every single body paragraph that you write needs to have a conclusion. In this conclusion, what do? You summarize your point and you connect your entire paragraph back to the question. So what is the question asking? Do you agree or disagree with the statement that science benefits human lives? So you have to mention that yes, I agree, and science does benefit human lives. That needs to be included in your conclusion. Why? We spoke about coherence and cohesion. Your answer, your paragraph has to be connected to the question. If there is no connectivity, you're not going to get marks. So every single body paragraph that you write needs to have an introduction, a topic sentence. You need to explain this topic sentence. You need to give an example, and there needs to be a conclusion. You also know that you have to use the right cohesive devices here. So I've given you 4 cohesive devices that you can use across any body paragraph. Not just because you have to use cohesive devices, but this will also help you remember the structure. Alright, so we'll read the first body paragraph that I've written, and I've highlighted the cohesive devices. Alright, to begin with, scientific research geared towards improving healthcare stands as a quintessential example of the overarching aim to enhance human lives. To explain this further, medical breakthroughs have led to the developments of vaccines, antibiotics, and medical procedures that have significantly increased life expectancy and quality of life. For instance, the discovery of penicillin revolutionized the treatment of bacterial infections, saving millions of lives globally. Moreover, the ongoing advancements in medical technology, such as personalized medicine and gene therapy, hold immense promise in providing tailored treatments for various diseases, thus improving patient outcomes and enhancing overall well-being. In a nutshell, these impacts underscore the pivotal role of science in directly influencing and improving people's lives. The four main cohesive devices are, to begin with, which shows that this is your first paragraph, this is what you're starting with. The second is to explain this further. So explain this further is where you elaborate your topic sentence. For instance, this is just another way of saying for example, right? Moreover is just another cohesive device. It's not one of the most important ones. The last one is in a nutshell. This is to show your conclusion. This outlines the four different parts of your body paragraph. So to begin with, to explain this further, for instance, and in a nutshell. If you can remember these four cohesive devices, you'll automatically remember the structure, plus you have the added benefit of including these four cohesive devices in the body paragraphs that you write. When you're going to the second body paragraph, obviously you can't use the same cohesive devices. So I've just given a few synonyms that you can write that will again help you remember the structure and will get you more marks because you're using different cohesive devices from what you used earlier. When you go on to the second body paragraph, you can say furthermore, secondly, to support the point above. Any of these things you can use. So I've gone with furthermore. Furthermore, advancements in agricultural science have played a vital role in addressing global food security challenges, thereby positively impacting people's lives. So I've introduced my point. This is what my body paragraph is going to be about. To understand this deeper, now before I said to explain this further, to elaborate this further, here I'm saying to understand this deeper, which is another way of saying I'm going to elaborate this further. Innovations such as genetically modified crops and precision agriculture techniques have increased crop yields, minimized environmental degradation, and ensured food availability for growing populations. For example, now before I said for instance, here I'm saying for example, the introduction of drought-resistant crops has mitigated the impact of adverse weather conditions on agricultural productivity in regions prone to drought, thereby safeguarding livelihoods and food security. Additionally, initiatives focusing on the... So additionally, again, although it is a cohesive device, I've just used it. There's no particular significance as to why I used it, but of course, the more cohesive devices you use in the right places, not at the wrong places, in the right places, the more marks you're going to get. So for that reason, I've added an extra cohesive device, but you don't really have to keep that in mind. You don't have to memorize it or anything, but the other four are so important. The other four are definitely important. This one is just an extra one, an additional one that you can keep in mind. All right. Additionally, initiatives focusing on sustainable agriculture practices such as agroforestry and soil conservation measures not only enhance food production but also promote ecosystem health and resilience, ultimately benefiting both present and future generations. Ultimately benefiting both present and future generations. All right, so it's clear to you. 4 parts that you have to follow in your body paragraph structure. All right. If you can include these 4 parts, if you can add the cohesive devices, and if you can write using relatively good vocabulary, quality vocabulary, trust me, a band 7+ score is guaranteed. All right. Then you move on to finally the conclusion. You say in conclusion. Now you would have noticed in the other 2 paragraphs, although we are writing the conclusion, we said in a nutshell or ultimately. Leave this in conclusion cohesive device for your final concluding paragraph because that's the most common one. It's nice. It's very conclusive, right? So that's probably one of the best ones to use. In conclusion, the paramount goal of science should unequivocally be the enhancement of human welfare. Through advancements in healthcare, agriculture, and various other fields, science has demonstrated its potential to improve people's lives on a global scale. As society continues to grapple with pressing challenges ranging from healthcare disparities to environmental degradation, it becomes increasingly imperative for scientific research and innovation to prioritize solutions that directly benefit humanity. Therefore, I firmly uphold the notion that the primary aim of science should always be to enhance people's lives, as it remains the ultimate use of its societal relevance and impact. Right? So it's very clear to you. Even the conclusion, I've highlighted my opinion once again. I have summarized the points that I made in my body paragraph. All right, that's the most important part. You have to summarize, you have to conclude what you have said in your body paragraph. So that summary is very important, and you finish by writing your own personal experience, and you finish by writing your own personal view once again. All right, so that's what you do in your conclusion. You summarize the points in your body paragraph and you highlight your own opinion. You can include an extra concluding line at the end if you want to, but this is up to you. If you want to, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But the summary and your opinion again is the most important. Right? So in this video, I hope you got a clear understanding of how to structure your essay in order to go for a band 7+ score. You also understood a few of the cohesive devices that you can use throughout your essay. We'll do a separate video on cohesive devices. We've already done one, but that was very basic. We'll move into more advanced cohesive vocabulary in another video. But anyway, in this video, I hope you got a clear understanding of the marking criteria for essay writing and also the correct structure of writing an essay. Practice as many essays as you can in this structure, because honestly, if you don't practice, if you just watch this video, you're not going to learn anything. So make sure to put what you learn into practice. Write an essay right now. Just watch this video, pause at the parts where I explain the structure, just follow my instructions and write an essay by yourself. That's the only way that you are going to learn. That's the only way that you're going to go for the highest possible band score. So I hope this video was of value to you. If it was, make sure to subscribe to the channel, share this with a friend, share this with someone who might benefit or who is going to sit for the IELTS exam. Make sure to comment any questions you have down below in the comment section, and any problems, any questions or any videos that you would like us to create in the future, make sure to let us know in the comments below. If you would also like to join with our 10-day IELTS program or purchase our video course, make sure to contact us on the number below. And also don't forget to click the notification bell so that you will be notified of any videos that we put out in the future. With that being said, till our next video, keep practicing.